Now, last week, my family and I went away camping and we stayed at a caravan park. We've got a camping trailer and we'd planned this weekend away. My son had a couple of days extra off school, so we thought, well, let's make the most of it and we'll go away for 4 days. And we had everything packed, ready to go. The kids were so excited, and my husband had to duck out and pump up the tires on the camping trailer and fill up the car with fuel and just do a few little last minute things. And while he was out, he decided to grab us lunch, which was very kind of him. And he's wonderful when it comes to getting me gluten-free food. And he always asks all the right questions and he follows all of my procedures to make sure that my food is safe and gluten-free. And he got home and I was sitting in my kitchen and I was eating my gluten-free wrap, which had chicken and salad in it. And it was delicious. I've had it from the same takeaway place so many times. The girls that make it are so careful. They prepare it in a clean, safe environment, and I've never had an issue in all the years that I've been buying this same takeaway gluten-free wrap. And I was eating my wrap and I got to almost the last mouthful and I thought, what is that flavor in my mouth? Because it tastes nothing like the rest of the wrap that I'd eaten. And my brain went, oh my God, that is crumbed chicken. So I immediately spat it out in my hand. I washed my mouth out. I couldn't make myself sick, which I wish I could have. But I was so freaked out that I'd consumed gluten, and I was I was beside myself. I couldn't believe it. And I didn't know if I'd swallowed any, but I thought that it was likely that I'd swallowed something that I shouldn't have. So my husband said, let's just not go camping. Let's just stay home. This is going to be a nightmare. Like, I don't want to be away and you're just on the toilet the whole time. I was like, do you know what? I don't want to disappoint the kids. I can use their toilet paper instead of my own. Let's just go. It's going to be fine. And I was mentally trying to talk myself into the fact that it was going to be okay. So off we went. We're driving to the campsite, which is probably not that far away, maybe 45 minutes away. And we got about halfway there and I made my husband pull over. I thought I was going to be sick. Thankfully I didn't. We kept going and it was a scorching hot day. Like, it's probably the hottest day that we've had so far this year. And it was just disgusting. So we got to the campsite and my husband said, look, you go do what you need to do. I went to the toilet. It was fine. Everything was fine. And he said he'd set up the camper trailer and the kids were nagging to go in the pool. And I thought, do you know what? I think that's going to be good. I'm going to go in the pool. I'll feel fine and it's going to be okay. And by this time, I felt a little bit off. I felt a bit dizzy and just not quite right. So I put my bathers on and I went for a swim. And I'm not even joking, I felt instantly better. It was like the temperature of the water just made everything feel so much better. And I thought, there is something in this. And I'm going home and I'm going to do some research on this because I cannot believe how much better it made me feel. So I was in and out the pool for the next sort of 4 to 5 hours with the kids, just having another swim, getting out, having a rest, getting back in. And that night I was exhausted. I was tired. I felt a little bit of vertigo, but my body wasn't aching. It wasn't feeling the normal body aches that I get, and I couldn't believe how much of an improvement I'd felt just from going in the pool. And as it turned out, I must have only had a very, very slight amount of gluten got in my system because I didn't have my usual symptoms that I would have, but I did definitely have the vertigo and a bit of brain fog. I took Panadol. So paracetamol, I took that on the Saturday and the Sunday, and I was a little bit off, but I was fine, and I am gobsmacked at how much better I felt. I did follow all of my protocols that I recommend inside Ultimate Celiac System for if you do get gluten, and they worked, but I do believe that adding this cold water therapy into it made an extra impact on the way that I felt from having gluten in my system. So I wanted to talk about cold water therapy and cryotherapy, or cold water exposure rather. So I wanted to talk about cold exposure and cryotherapy and the benefits of it and how that can support you moving forward if you get gluten, or just if you suffer from other symptoms or problems from maybe other autoimmune diseases or other issues that you've got going on in your life. Now, if you've never heard of cryotherapy, basically what it is you are exposed to freezing temperatures. So whether you go in a freezing cold lake in the middle of winter, or you go into an ice bath, this is something you need to do supervised. You need to make sure you only do it for a period of time. Please speak to your doctor. This is not medical advice. This is me just sharing information, but it is something that has been made famous in recent years by a bloke called Wim Hof, and he teaches you how to breathe through that cold water exposure, because, jumping in a tub of iced water is not very pleasant. And to be honest, it's only ever something that I thought sports people did. I thought it was something that people did to recover from that muscle pain. My husband has done it for many years after playing football. They would jump in an ice bath and it would help with, that muscle aches and pains, and would help them recover faster. So that is one of the benefits of doing cryotherapy. And you might not have exposure to an ice bath or, an icy kind of lake or anything like that. But you can even get cold exposure just from perhaps going for a swim in the ocean if you're near the beach. I know a lot more people are doing that these days. We live just near the beach, so the beach is just down the road from us, 500 meters from our house. I drive past the beach every single day, and there are always people swimming in the ocean when I'm dropping my son to school. So we drive past the beach to get to his school, and there's always people going for an early morning swim. And once upon a time, I used to think they were crazy because I don't really love being cold. And for me, it's kind of like, if it's hot, I'm going for a swim at the beach. Whereas now, I'm starting to learn the benefits more of this cold water exposure, that it's something that I'm going to be working my way up to doing more often. My brother and his girlfriend have just started doing Sunday morning swims. No matter what the weather, no matter what the temperature is, they go down to my local Moana beach and they go for a swim and just enjoy those benefits. So yeah, it's pretty incredible, and it's something that I wanted to talk with you a little bit more about some of the other benefits with today as well. So some of the other benefits that you can actually get from cryotherapy or cold water exposure, or even cold exposure. So if you are living in, say, America or Canada, obviously it's a different time it's a different season. It's not a different time of year, but it's a different season to what we've got here in Australia. So we're going into summer, you guys are going into winter. And in winter, you can go for a walk and you can expose your body to cold temperatures. Obviously, you need to make sure that you are, looking after your body, that you're not going to get frostbite, things like that. But if you can go for a walk in the cold, or even just go outside and get some cold exposure, it's amazing what it can do, not only for your mindset, but the way that you feel. It can really wake you up. Most of us just want to hibernate when it's cold and stay indoors, but it can lead to other issues when we just don't get out and don't, go outdoors and enjoy what, nature does for us. So you might want to push yourself a little bit and get some cold exposure moving forward as you go into the winter months. Now, we talked about how it can decrease inflammation. It can help with recovery and supporting your muscles after, heavy workouts, things like that. It can also help with weight loss. So it's not like you sit in an ice bath and you lose weight. It's the benefits from what that does. So it can increase your metabolism, so that can then lead to weight loss. And then it can also help with recovery to get you back out there and exercising. So if you are someone that does intense workouts, or, you're playing sport and you feel that muscle pain for days on end after, say, a big game of sport. So for example, my husband, let's just say he played football and for a couple of days he was in agony and couldn't really walk, then doing that cold water exposure or that cryotherapy helps you to get back out there, hit the gym or go for a run, do what you would normally do by reducing that pain. So for my husband, when he's been playing football again this year, he's had a couple of years off. So he turned 40 this year and he knows his body's not what it used to be. And what he does, no matter what temperature it is, he goes down to the beach on a Sunday. So he plays football on a Saturday and then he goes down to the beach on a Sunday. It can be freezing cold. He'll have a big jumper on and he'll go down in his shorts and he'll just walk in the water up to his waist. And it helps his legs recover so much quicker. So for him, that is a massive benefit. And he knows the difference that it makes for him and his recovery. Another thing that cryotherapy or cold exposure can do is it can help with lowering your risk of getting depression. So that's pretty cool. People that I've, watched online that have done it for the first time, where they've done this cold therapy, they have said that they felt so alive afterwards. So they do it and then they've got like all this energy and they feel amazing. There's a TV show here in Australia called The Block where these couples go on the show to compete for a prize of $100,000 and they fully renovate a house. And I think it was last year's actually. And this couple, they did this cold water therapy. They did the cryotherapy in an ice bath. And I remember the guy getting out and he was just pumped. He was so full of energy and he just got so much work done in his house that day. And to see that benefit is huge. So Tony Robbins, he does this every morning. He has this it's kind of like this a meter by meter, I'd say, square in his backyard where it's just a plunge where he literally jumps in and pops up and he stays in there for however long. I think it's recommended about 3 or 4 minutes. Don't quote me on that. I'm not 100% sure, but he does that every morning and that just gets the body going and starts you on an amazing path for the day. Another thing that it can do is help with reducing eczema. So a lot of people report that it helps with eczema. And for me, I had eczema as a kid and I know that it was always worse when I felt hot. And I always remember that in winter, it was always much more comfortable living with eczema. So obviously, that's reducing that heat that eczema, it brings to the body. If you've got that heat rather in your body, if you reduce that heat, it's going to feel better with the eczema and reduce that itchiness and improve it. So that's a pretty cool one as well, something to think about if you struggle with eczema or if your child struggles with eczema. And then last one that I wanted to share was it can prevent migraines. And from what I've found is it's to do with supporting the muscles around the neck. So if you struggle with migraines and it's not linked to your gluten intake, it could be linked to your muscles. This can actually support that as well. So that's something to think about there if, you do struggle with migraines and you're not sure how to get on top of that. Now, if you don't have access to an ice bath, you can do it yourself. Like people do it in eskies. I don't know, what do we call them in America? What do you call them over there? I think they're called coolers. I'm not sure. So basically it's what you keep your drinks in with ice. So we call them eskies in Australia. I've seen a lot of people use them where they fill it with ice and fill it with water and plunge into those. So that could be an option. A bath would work, but again, it's quite a large space to fill with ice. So you could even just try it with cold water to start with and work your way up from there, maybe grabbing a bag of ice and seeing if that works. But, even just in a really natural state, just hitting the ocean, hitting a lake, going somewhere that you can jump in the cold water and expose yourself to that can do wonders for your mindset, your health, your body, and as I discovered, reducing inflammation after accidental gluten exposure. So I hope that is a bit of an eye-opener for you, because it's something that I certainly learned recently and wanted to share with you. And I will be adding this to my protocols inside Ultimate Celiac System. So for those of you that have got that program, you'll see an update on your checklist for what to do if you accidentally get gluten. And it could be as simple as just jumping in a cold shower if you don't have access to one of those other options. So thank you so much for listening. Thanks for tuning in again this week. And I look forward to talking with you again very, very soon. So yeah, have a great week. I'll talk to you then. Bye. If you enjoyed this episode, head to belindawhelan.com to get yourself a free copy of my exclusive ebook, 11 Mistakes People Make Going Gluten-Free Living with Celiac Disease.